Hi, friends. How are we finding sanity in times of madness? So, first to start, we have a beautiful world. We have a wonderful world, but sometimes it's not really designed for our lovely, um, gentle immune system. So, that's what we're really going to talk about is how we're going to regulate our nervous system when it's designed to live in tribes. 100 and so the studies show that it's around 140 people per tribe, uh, up to 220, something like that. And so now we are exposed to grief and news from all over the world. Um, and our nervous system can't really deal with it. That is the truth. Um, we are meant to feel griefs of others. We're meant to feel the sadness of other people because it's kind of we are creatures that social. We're supposed to be in tribe. We're supposed to feel each other. We care. We want to care, but to watch the news and know what's going on all over the place and all those dramas can be really too much for our nervous system. So I wanted to kind of gather us, and just kind of discuss of how you can take it forward. I'll try to put kind of courses like that, like short one that you could just download and get inspired. And I will also share some practices. So we're going to have some time for meditation. And if you're coming to the live ones, we also have 20 minutes in the end for sharing and questions. Q&A time. So in the recording, we're just keeping the privacy of people that are coming to the live ones. So otherwise, we're just me talking about the different themes. So I hear a lot right now from my clients that I work one-on-one with about levels of stress that they haven't really knew before. They struggle with sleeping. They struggle with heart palpitations, all sorts of issues that come as a result of stress. Also gaining weight, and inability to balance our weight, especially women after pre and post menopausal, even struggle even more. So this kind of things just keep coming up. There will be a course about the forest dweller, this pre-menopause and menopause stage of women's life, and we're going to talk about all of that with adding themes around hormonal balance, lifestyle, and this more spiritual and mental side of this stage of our lives. So we're going to talk about that. So first, to introduce myself, my name is Rena Gerland. If you haven't been on any of my retreats, I've been running retreats and teaching yoga and ancient traditions from India, so yogic and Ayurvedic ways of living. And I lived with many different ancient traditions, shamans all over the world. I had an Indian mentor, I had African mentor, Malidoma Some. So I really explored, for my own well-being, more ancient approaches to our well-being. That's kind of what I do, and I help a lot of people coming from the dark night of their soul and back into the light, finding their dharma, finding their life purpose where they're really feeling satisfied. So that's what I do on retreats and one-on-ones. And in this little courses, I hope everyone inspired to do the same and will be helpful for you in tricky times and in good times, actually, because it is all about celebrating life. So I also going to touch today's sad because we are entering the winter, and it's actually connected because to prevent sad, we also need to manage our stress level better. And also, at the end of the day, balancing our stress level is good for our well-being physically, mentally, and spiritually. And we can be better in our communities, which is, you know, we all want to be in service and help our families and our loved ones in the best way we can. And this is why I was inviting this course, this circle, that we will discuss how we can find, so the noise will be there, and the stress will be there, and the non-stop news will be there, and the world will will be there, you know. And what we say in yoga is that you can't change life, but you can change the way you deal with it. So how we can deal with it in the best way, that not only our nervous system is regulated and we can balance our stress levels, and be more in the parasympathetic nervous system and less in the sympathetic nervous system. So it's important that we be in the sympathetic, because it makes us move, it makes us create, and makes us, you know, do things, achieve things. But if we don't go in a balanced way to the parasympathetic, which is where we regenerate, rejuvenate, we can think clearly, we can have epiphanies, we can be more creative, and we can be more innovative, which is necessary when we care about the world. We want to come with solutions. We want to be the change, right? We want to contribute to what we want to see in the world for ourselves, for our loved ones, and for the next generations. Okay, so I was looking at the word sanity, and actually come from the Greek word sanitas, which means healthy, just being healthy. So, and what I mean by sanity is I'm all into being a little bit quirky and eccentric and doing things out of the box. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about feeling that you really know thyself and you're not influenced by the whole world. We can find our voice in the noise, because the noise can be overpowering. You know, just ambulance driving up the road, and the kids from next doors, and the you know, the people shouting on the street, and music in this car passing, and all this and then the noise of like dramas everywhere in TV and our social media and all of that. It's very noisy. And actually we can only regenerate when things are very simple, with more quiet time and more and slower. That can really help us find sanity, because we can slow down, we can pull ourselves out of the situations, and we can find what really is our voice, who we are in all of that, not what we are told to be, not what society is telling us to be, but who we are. Okay. Okay. So first exercise I want us to do, I'm just going to kind of weave exercises, so it's also going to be helping us to come back into our center while we letting in this information. And again, so you can discern what suits you to take from this and what doesn't suit you. Okay, so I want to teach you a really powerful exercise. So it goes like this. You take 2 quick inhalations and a long exhalation. The second inhalation will be almost like very, very short. Try it. So you do. Let's try that together, because that's a really powerful way to release more oxygen dioxide, and that really help us to move into the parasympathetic nervous system. Let's try it 2 more times. So our lungs is two big sacs, and in those sacs there's many, many little sacs. So when we do that, especially with the second one, we're really helping them to open up. And we also have receptors of the parasympathetic nervous system in the base of our lungs. So that's a really powerful thing. And this is it, you know, we can find sanity in any situation, because if we are not finding sanity, if we're not in our centers, if we don't know who we are, not only that everything can affect us and throw us, we can also get to the point that we start to develop illnesses, because we can't constantly be in the sympathetic nervous system. We have to be in rejuvenation mode, which is the healing mode. So we're not only surviving. And also when we're only surviving, we are not digesting properly. And we are, in survival. So it's not a restful state. So we want to move from that to a restful state. Like you see your dogs, you take your dog for a walk, you go for a good run, have a good play, and then they come home and they lay down and they knocked out for at least half an hour, depending on your dog. Something could be 2. So this is the idea. So we are activating and then activating. Now we can take those little tools. So if you are at work and it's overwhelming, you can take yourself from this situation, because this is a good way to regulate the nervous system. And you put yourself out of the situation, because if the situation is stressful, your brain read it as danger. So it doesn't matter if it's a tiger or annoying boss, it's danger for the brain. So it moves into the sympathetic nervous system, and it does not digest and does not regenerate. And also, if you want to think about it in that way, that you're not digesting, so you're not able to digest life, not only the food, you're also not able to digest life. And it's beautiful, you know, the whole tantric tradition in yoga is really many practices, about 200 practices, that was written by sages for the householders, for people who pay the bills and, you know, raise kids. It's not very old, it's 700 years old tradition. And they basically gave them practices to bring sacredness to their day-to-day, to bring meaning to their day-to-day activities. And they say that Tantra is the main purpose of Tantra is to help us to digest life in a better way. Okay. So how's the belly going? How is the breath? Okay, so I want to talk about a few ways to regulate the nervous system. And the first one is, I tried to do more slides. I didn't really have the opportunity now. I'm traveling and I'm in Crete, but maybe sometimes I will. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is when you say regulating your nervous system, it means that if you've been through experience that was stressful, that you couldn't slow down. Okay, I'll give you the definition of trauma, because we all been traumatized in one way or another. Okay, we all been through trauma, but not always been traumatized. Sorry, this is an important definition. So, trauma is experiences that were too fast, too soon, and too much. So just yesterday I was talking to a client, and she had a serious car accident. Her husband came within 5 minutes. He immediately gave her a hug. He took her out of the situation. Luckily, she's using a lot of adaptogens and things that I recommend. And she got back to regulated nervous system within an hour or 2. Okay. She drove the next day. 2 days later, she drove to work. So she wasn't traumatized. she had a traumatic experience. Now, what's the difference? Her husband came, so too alone. She wasn't alone. It was too much and too soon, but it was immediately regulated by touch, by another person, by doing all the things that take you quickly into safety. So the adaptogen, being at home, having a caring husband, and knowing some tricks how to come back to her breath and how to regulate herself again, she could drive 2 days later. If she would have been completely alone with no tools and maybe even 2 hours to somebody that she knows come, and then she's in hospital and it's all noisy and she feels alone, then that is a traumatizing experience, which means it stays in your body and it starts to affect your choices, your behavior, your thinking. And then you start to do things that determined by trauma. So you will not do particular things that are good for you because trauma is just controlling you in some ways. Want to protect you, actually. It's compassionate, kind of, if you can think about it in a compassionate way. It wants to protect you, but it wants to protect you even from love, even from safety, even from healthy relationship, right? Or, driving and being confident and doing what you love to get to work or to get to your project or go traveling or whatever you need to do to drive the car. In that case, but it could be many, many things. So, yeah. So what we want to do is, even when you watch TV and you see so many people dying and struggling all over the world, and it doesn't matter which side of the war you are and what's going on, it's people, it's humans suffering. The leaders doing their things, humans struggling. And that is really painful for us. It's real pain. And there is advanced practices in Buddhism that you can sit with the pains of others and experience as yours, but that is quite a lot at the beginning. But we can't not be in compassion to others. So I want to remind you that even though you don't know those people, for your body, because even if you watch a scary movie, it's traumatic, it's a trauma for your body, because your body does not differentiate between the two. So even if you hear like nasty words in songs, it's affecting you, your nervous system, okay? And so how do we find sanity? How do we regulate ourselves within all this bad news, and then noise you can't control, and then crimes that happen maybe around the corner, and then on top of that, your family, and they go through stuff, and they're also watching TV, and they're also going through their own divorces and things, and how we deal with all of that, because your nervous system could have deal with just your family, but now your family also affected by the whole world. Right? And this is not natural for us. So you need to make the choice how much you want to take in. If you're not informed 24/7 by what's going on in the world, you can decide, I could do it for an hour. The world will continue around you. The bad news will keep happening. People will keep suffer. But you are not helpful if your nervous system is compromised. You cannot be innovative. You cannot regenerate. You cannot digest. You can't think straight. Actually, when we are going through traumatic experience, our brains shrink. Those horrible experiences makes us stupid. Okay. So I just want us to just take a few deep breaths. Close your eyes and just take a few comfortable breaths. That's great. So maybe you want to open your eyes and take, or maybe you already have something to write. I'm going to go through those things that I feel can really, really help. And then I want us to go through another thing. Okay, but let's talk about ways you can learn to regulate your nervous system. You could do it every day. You can really benefit from it quite quickly. Okay. So the opposite of unregulated nervous system to regulated nervous system, and then there is this tension in the body, like stress, right? This is irregulated nervous system. If you have a lot of traumatic experience and you haven't learned ways and you haven't been doing the right practices for your nervous system, you will start to go really, you can be triggered very, very quickly. So just recently, I was working with a client of mine, and she was the smallest thing can just send her to places that she didn't know she could go so quickly. Like she met that in the old days, but after therapy and doing a lot of good things for herself and taking herself out of relationship that feel unsafe, because that can keep you in the trauma, even if it's not directly connected to that. Okay, so she took herself from unhealthy relationships, but she still started to feel that, especially recently with the wars and, and the world and everything, and she started to feel overwhelmed. So first of all, we worked on changing the word overwhelmed and just say whelmed. Don't tell your brain you overwhelmed. Just say I'm whelmed. And then we started to bring practices of taking pauses. The opposite of that state is slowing down. You remember the too fast, too soon, too much, too alone, trauma. So we started to do practices that involve metta, loving kindness meditation. So she's blessing herself, she's blessing others that she cares about, and she blessed the world. And one thing that I added to that, because she is she's a doctor, she works in an emergency room, and she is very caring person. So she is taking the suffering of the world. And I told her about an interesting research I heard about. A very interesting woman. She was working with it. She was a student of the Dalai Lama, and she was practicing meditation for about 25 years. And then the Dalai Lama said to her, it's time to do research. She's a researcher too. And about the effect of meditation on the brain and the body. And so she took a monk, a French guy that was a monk for 30 something years, and she basically showed him a video of a guy that really suffered from cancer. And he found that he couldn't stay in that state of because she asked him to be empathetic towards this person. So she wanted to see what empathy is doing to his body, to his brain. And after about 5 minutes, he said, I really struggle. I can't stay in that state. And then she said, okay, let's just do it for 2 more minutes or 5 more minutes or whatever. And then, but his brain was okay and his body was okay. And then she said, she took him off this video and the headphones, and she said, what happened in the last 5 minutes? You didn't, your brain wasn't affected by that. He said, well, I really recognize that if I stay in a state of being empathetic, I'm going to develop cancer. I started to feel my body going toxic because he's very, very tuned to his body. So he started to feel really, really bad. And he said, so what I did is I send them a blessings of loving kindness. So I moved from being empathetic to compassion, and I directed blessings to them. So rather than being with them in the experience, he went to the side and blessed them. And she started to teach those techniques to nurses and people like this client of mine that work in those conditions where they feel a lot of empathy for their patients. So we worked more on doing loving kind of meditation. And when she is with someone that is going through a lot of struggle, like you can do the same. When you see people in the news that go through struggles, when you know your neighbor is going through something, when you know your daughter, you know yourself, rather than going into worrying, into stressing out about it, which we all know is not going to add any good thing. We can become healers in this situation. We can call bigger forces. We can say, God, nature, great medicine, whatever you want to call it, something greater than yourself. So you are the conductor. You call it in to come through you to these people from your heart. So not only that you're sending it, and that has much more effect, and that's also been studied, you're also receiving it and it's coming through you. So you are also in the process of receiving. So maybe if we have time, we can do the Bhuvaneshwari meditation, which is about calling space of the Divine Mother. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is part of the pause, practicing pause. So like you're being stressed, you're feeling that your nervous system is all over the place. Get yourself out of the situation. Nature is the greatest healer. If the weather allows, and even if it's a little bit rainy, put your warm coat or whatever is going on and just go. And even if it's in the yard and you can see a tree and you can see the sky, it will immediately calm you down, especially if you do a few deep breaths, activating the parasympathetic nervous system. The receptors are in the base of your lung. So while I'm talking, can you take 3 more deep, long breaths? Feel it below the belly button. So you can go through dramatic shift in 10 minutes breath. Slow breath. You can literally stamp your feet on the ground if it's you really kind of alert, because it's good to come back to the body, because the experience is overwhelming or whelming, but it's also sitting on old experiences. So it's you're not in your conscious mind, you're in subconscious, or you're not right now, here now. So if you want to come back to the here and now, you stamp your feet on the ground, you breathe deeply, you go and wash your hands, you put some nice warm or cold water on your face. Cold showers are the best to come out of those situations if it's quite triggering. And mammals, we regulate our nervous system through touch. Just go and hug someone. Ask for someone to give you a hug. And if you can't, your brain does not differentiate between a hug with somebody or you hugging yourself. So you could literally go, even if you go to one of the rooms in the office or you go in the house, and you just hold yourself and you do 10 deep breaths. and you stay centered, and you almost imagining that your spine is an antenna, and you're looking for the center. And you're breathing deeply. You can also write about it, about what you're going through. And you can talk to someone, that's ideal. Again, we are wired for connections. There's only so much we can do alone. We actually heal together. That will be another video I'll do about the myth of healing, of self-healing. It's actually a myth. It's not possible. It's very rare. Because we are wired for connections. We're supposed to heal together. Okay. So another thing I want to talk about, and then I'll just touch a few more things, and then we will go into a bit of meditation. I'm doing it very organic. Okay, so finding your voice in a noisy world is using your own sound, is singing more. Go join a choir, even if you're not the best singer. It doesn't matter if you're not going there for that. You can also use a choir and keep your voice lower, or ideally every morning you wake up and you just do sa 3 times. Let's do it together. Sa. Sa. One. Sa. And if you are going on a walk, so talking about sad, you need as much light as possible. In dark days, I know it's more tricky, but even if the sun is out for 2 hours, make sure you open all the blinds, you let every possible light come in. There's also light therapy that you could look at, like getting those light boxes that you could use. Being around fire is really, really great way to do that. Even putting candles, as long as your eyes and your brain receiving natural light, it can really help with the release of serotonin. So the story with SAD is obviously because there isn't that regulation of melatonin, serotonin, so this circadian rhythm that we have normally is out of balance. Then what we want to do is to find ways to bring more serotonin. So great way to do that is it's making love, it's hugging, cuddling, going for a run, going for a nice long walk. So you know what, even if the weather is rubbish, put a nice coat, go for a walk, be warm, but go for a nice walk. Make sure that you cover your hair in the winters, and that will really help. So half an hour good walk or an hour walk will really sort out your serotonin levels. If you know that it's something you anyway have tendencies to, then do that. If you would want to work with me privately, then I could also really go deep into what you need, and then we can find you good herbs. But something that all of you can do, and it doesn't matter if you don't need to be prescribed because it's not medicinal, is the adaptogenic herbs that I have on my website. You can order it. It's called Regenerate, the mix. And then there is Rebalance for women, which is also adaptogen, but specifically for women. And then the Regenerate, the brown one, is it's really, really powerful. It's got ashwagandha. It's really, really powerful. And especially if you have tendencies for kind of issues with the nervous system. So that will really help quite a lot. You feel free to email me if you have any questions. If anything comes up, drop an email, because we will do Q&A, but I wouldn't record that, as I said. So if you have questions and you're watching the recording, then please get in touch if you have any questions. Okay, so where are we now? So let's take a pause and take a few deep breaths, long deep into the belly. Another thing you can do, which is interesting, is to name something that's going on for you. So if it's sad and you feeling more sad, the winter blues, or, if the situations of the world is really kind of making you low, then, or anything that triggers you in some way, write it on a paper and name it and say, this is what I'm going through. Because it's actually, they're talking about in psychology, but the yoga's been talking about for thousands of years, that we have the self or the higher self, and we have this functioning human being in this world. We have a vehicle that is our body and all of that. So there's something in us that observing and something in us that is reacting to the situation. So what we want to be more with the one that observes. That's what we do when we pause. That's what we do in taking ourselves out of dangerous situation. This is the regulation of the nervous system. We're taking ourselves out of a situation that we can't think straight. And we are moving into a situation that we can observe it from this side. We start to breathe. We start to shake. Shaking is phenomenal. If you go, I have a YouTube channel that it's got quite a good amount of information for you. So there is one short that I did about shaking our bodies. You can also, I think, find it in the blog page. By the way, there's a blog page on my website. And so the idea is that basically when you shake, all animals shake. You can see there's a video you can find on YouTube. It's an antelope and she's attacked by a tiger, and then she somehow managed to run away from it, but she fall on the floor and she start to shake for about 2 minutes, and then she stand up and run again. So most mammals regulate their nervous system by shaking. And this is why when we see old people and they shake, it's because their nervous system trying to regulate itself, but it's a little bit too late. So it's good that we do the shaking voluntarily as a practice. Put good music that you could really jump around and go mad, because sometimes we have to find sanity through the madness, but when it's contained in the right way. Our madness being expressed is actually essential for any artist, for any person that want to express himself in the world. But what we're doing it in a contained way. So if you're taking the example of a fire, if we're making a fire and we creating a container to the fire, and so the fire can be transformative. So if we go and we shake and we dance and we, write poetry and shake ourselves and and do what we need to do to shake it out literally from our system, but also maybe crying it, maybe also writing it, and saying things that you wouldn't say to anyone. Maybe you could put it on a paper, or, go mad is absolutely essential to stay sane, actually, in the world. But you have to do it in a contained way. So rather than the fire going all over the place, it's contained and it can go upward and transform. So if you're going through a traumatic experience and you want to get it out of your system, you want to run up to the mountains and into the woods and give a good shout, go for it. It's actually highly recommended. Okay, so the shaking is covered. I would love to hear your question if you're only hearing the recording. So do write notes and drop me a line. Okay. And so we talked about, I think, most of the things that I wanted to cover today. So let's do a little recap. You know now what you're doing about regulating your nervous system, right? So long deep breath. So 3 of those, or just slow deep breath into the lower part of your belly where the receptors of the parasympathetic nervous system lay. Not only there, also when you do, by the way, forward bend in yoga, there is receptors in the back of your legs. So that's also very calming. So doing that for 10 minutes, lifting your legs up the wall for 20 minutes before you go to bed every night is phenomenal. I do it every night. Using adaptogens, you can find it on the shop. You can find somewhere else. I highly recommend yours because what I have on my website, because it's very good quality. I know where I source them. Touch, not being alone, call a friend, talk about what you're going through, even if it's a struggle of the world. And please, please minimize the amount of time you're watching the news. You're not meant to hear that much news. You cannot actually regulate your nervous system hearing about hundreds and thousands of million griefs happening. So it's a discipline to decide, I'm going to pause, I'm going to go into meditation. I'm going to put my hands on my heart. You can find meditation on my YouTube channel. It's about 11 minutes. It's fantastic. Okay, that's more or less that. Then avoiding SAD, being exposed to as much light as you can, regulating your serotonin level by going for a good run, by taking adaptogens, but there's also other herbs. If you want, we can have a one-on-one chat and discuss that. And by the way, I want to offer everybody that is here, if you're taking 6 sessions, usually it's 630, and I'm giving now £50 off. So it's 580 for 6 sessions, and they about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, depends on your needs. The other thing is that I just want to touch towards the end is finding hope amidst this storm. We have a beautiful, beautiful world. And, you know, I used to work in TV. I used to be a TV news producer. And I remember once, I was only 24 when I started. And I remember somebody called us and they said they organizing a group meditation. And I heard my boss then saying, we are not interested in good news. It doesn't sell. I mean, well, he said it doesn't sell to me, but he said to them, we're not interested in good news. Humans have the tendencies, because we are wired for connection, but we also have to survive traditionally in the jungle. So we will get really full attention on things that are dangerous. So if they're giving us drama, this is the addiction to the drama. More. It's because it's very easy for us to get addicted to dramas. So I would highly recommend to regulate that, or to balance that with good news. There's positive news. You can follow them on Instagram. You can look for good stories. See how many times, sit with your friend here and say, hey, do you hear that there's a new tiger now in Africa? There's 3 more new ones. Or, you know, oh, did you hear that there's amazing new prime minister in Mali? No, not Mali, where was it? Burkina Faso or Malawi. And she, last week, brought a law that doesn't allow child marriage. This is the great news. And so there is good news. There's good things happening. even in the Middle East, there's a lot of people trying to make peace. There's a lot of people meeting and doing good things. There's a lot of good people doing things, good things all over the world. It's not all horrible. And our consciousness is the most powerful weapon we will ever have. And if we keep ourselves pausing, taking care of our nervous system, sending the blessings to all, remember that research of not worrying about the world, but caring for the world, sending blessings, visualizing, imagining them, praying for them. This is the most amazing gift we can give to the world. If you want to be in action, be in action. But if you do action from a place of anger, from a place of dysregulated nervous system, you're just resolving your own trauma. You're not coming from a clear place. You come from anger. And usually those people spread more hatred and more fear rather than helping the situation. So we have to think about that. Hafiz, a beautiful poet from 13th century in Iran, Persia then, said, now that you're worried has been such an lucrative business, why not find another job? Something like that. Basically, job and worry is a waste of space. I'm sorry if I didn't say his sentence right. I read it many years ago, but I loved it. But anyway, worry is bad business. It doesn't take us forward and it doesn't help your nervous system. Okay. And really, I don't want to scare anyone, but if you're running on high for too long, it comes with a price, heavy price. And I've been in this world of well-being, of wellness because of my own journey, being a producer, having a serious burnout, and then a car accident, then my whole endocrine system basically collapsed. So really it's my own journey and my own finding ways to keep regulating myself while I'm still exposed to what we all expose, right? And there is ways, but we have to be really discerning and really decide what we're letting in and what we don't let in. And because it is for the good of all. It is for the good of all. Okay, I want us to finish with a short meditation. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. If you have any question, again, get in touch. If you want to explore more of ways to work together, then do grab this offer. I will do it till the end of December. And and it's definitely something that I'm here if you have any questions or any clarities around that. Okay, so I wanted to kind of introduce you to a very beautiful practice. It's for Bhuvaneshwari. Bhuvaneshwari in the yogic tradition, in the tantric tradition actually, because the tantra is worshipping feminine goddesses. So Bhuvaneshwari is almost not a goddess because she doesn't even have a form. She's the space that holds everything. So if you want, it's like the universe that holds everything. It's like a great big womb. And it's almost like when you are facilitator and you say, I hold space for my client, then you're basically talking about the energy of Bhuvaneshwari. So there is a beautiful practice that we could do that is basically just sitting down. You can use her mantra, or you could just visualize calling that. It doesn't have to be Bhuvaneshwari if you don't resonate with that. It could be just any energy of the divine mother, of this great womb, this great nurturer, this great holder and provider, and all of that is actually the same principle of Dharma. Dharma would simply say that when we're doing the work in the world that is aligned with our values. But when it's aligned with our values, is what we really care about, what we want to nurture, what we want to protect, what we want to sustain. And so it's kind of that energy of the Divine Mother. Nature is the Divine Mother also. Okay, just checking that I didn't miss anything. So you calling her, you could say Om Harim Namaha. Om Harim, H-R-I-M, Namaha, Namaha. Or you just call. Just make yourself a safe space, put a candle, do your breath, maybe do a good shake first. And then sit down, do some breathing, and then decide that you are going into a space of pause, of relaxation, of receiving. And then you're calling that energy of the Divine Mother, of this great womb that holds everything and nurture everything and sustain everything. And then you are imagining yourself or people you care about, or maybe those people that you watched in the news and you really care about their suffering. And you can really imagine them sitting there, and you can pray and ask for whatever you feel that will benefit their well-being, spiritually, physically, mentally. If it's somebody that you know that struggle, you can say, please help Daniel with this, and giving this, and give him this, and he would really benefit from that and that and that and that. Oh, great Mother, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Always pray with gratitude, not like a beggar, like a lover. You know, when you come, say, oh, great Mother, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping me help Daniel. So let's do a little try that. Sit comfortably. So that your breath is rising like a big balloon. You start to call this quality the great Mother, the great divinity, maybe Bhuvaneshwari, maybe nature, maybe whatever you feel comfortable. Maybe Mother Mary, if you are going in this tradition, or whatever, it feels like a great nurturing mother. And she's kind of beyond space, beyond a form. I usually start with just calling, oh Mary. I chant that 108 times before I start. And I feel gratitude in my heart as I start to feel the presence of this nourishing, protective energy. And feel how gratitude is already calming your nervous system, because it does. When you give thanks, you move to the parasympathetic nervous system. Another two, another. And so you say, oh, great Mother, thank you. And then you can imagine who you want to send the blessings to and send healing to. It might be yourself. It's okay, it's correct. Do that. It might be somebody else. Right, because anyway, it's going through too. Maybe it's a whole country. And you start to ask for what you feel in your heart will benefit those you pray for. And finish by bringing your hands together. Rub the palms of your hands. That's also help us to stimulate the nervous system with a lot of nerve ends in our fingertips and the palms of our hands. And you put it on your eyes. Just calm the eyes that see and receive so much information. So much. Sometimes too much. Stroke your face. Touch regulates our nervous system. Our whole body. Just go through your body, through your legs, through your belly, through your breath. And give thanks to the Great Mother for being here with you and with you. Okay, so we came to an end of this little e-course. I hope you enjoyed it. Any feedback, anything you felt like you would have want to know more of, I will try to do those more frequently. So stay tuned. There is a course page on my website, so you can stay tuned. And every month I will find what is feeling really alive for us and put it there. And I also, what I do is, because I meet people, I work with people one-on-one and on retreats, as you know, and I also give talks, so I meet people. So a lot of the inspiration is coming from what I feel that is within the collective. So what I hear from my clients this week, and then according to that, when it feels really alive, I will just be really spontaneous and put one or two like this. So keep in touch. You can watch the recording, but it's really fun when you also come into the live, because then we have the Q&A and something a bit more dynamic. So, but as you wish. But as I said, the Q&A part will not be recorded. So it is an intimate space where we all, everything that's been said there, staying there. So I hope to see you very soon. And if you have any questions, do get in touch. And yeah, and there is the discount till the end of December if you want to take 6 sessions of mentoring with me. It's a beautiful process. And I'm sending you much love. If you decide that you're not sure and you just want to do one, then you could do one for a big discount, and then you could try that if you don't want to commit for all 6 at the beginning. Sending you much love. Take care of your nervous system and implement those practices. And if any of them worked really well, I would love to hear about it. It's really, really will be much appreciated if you share your journey. Sending you much love.